Hello, Captain. I'm Colonel Hungam of Federation Intelligence. I'm responsible for training you and your crew on Project Father. The Father is a one-of-a-kind warship with unprecedented technology that will take warfare strategies and tactics to a new level never before seen by mankind. As you know, our traitorous political leaders have been bought by the giant monopolies of the corporatocracy. In collusion with the enemy, these sold-out political leaders leak all information about our military operations to the corporatocracy. That's why the Federation's Secret Service has allied itself with a legendary pirate like you, and we're handing over this giant warship we've been secretly developing. In our past covert operations together, we have often realized that you and we are on the same side in this battle for the existence of mankind. We have also seen time and again that you are an honorable warrior who will not betray your comrades in arms. We respect that. Now we've created a simulation that will teach you how to operate the Father and prepare you and your crew to live and fight aboard this powerful warship. Our simulation mission is to take out the AI pirate drones that have appeared in orbit around Mars. This mission will take place in a relatively small area in orbit around Mars. We'll only be clearing 5 small drones in a small area. However, in space, you will face much more difficult conditions. You will face hundreds of enemies on the battlefield, and the mission area will be 20-30 times larger. You will have to manage operations by planning each step in detail, dodging asteroids, and constantly scanning the area to avoid ambushes. In these huge spaces filled with hundreds of enemy ships, sometimes you will have to find a shipwreck and retrieve critical data from the wreckage. Sometimes you'll have to perform critical scans needed by our intelligence officers. Sometimes you will have to carry out missions requested by various political and regional factions in the Federation in order to build better relations with them. And in this way, we will gain new allies in our fight against the corporatocracy, which has grown to enormous power and is now enslaving all of humanity. These are going to be very challenging and demanding missions. Now, back to the simulation. You have entered the territory of Mars. With a quick scan, you have located the enemies in the area. You can get an overview of the situation in the area by examining the radar on the screen. The red lines on the radar represent enemy elements. The white lines represent civilian ships, and the green lines represent our warships. First, we open the fighter panel to launch fighters to escort the Father. This allows our escort ships to begin their protection mission and ensure the safety of the mothership. We don't recommend leaving the Father unprotected. The Father has powerful armor made from advanced secret alloys and can sometimes even reflect enemy fire or survive collisions with massive asteroids without damage. However, the Father is not an immortal ship. Every minor wound it takes is a risk that, over time, will cause major problems with its internal systems or external armor. Never forget that. In the hangar panel, you can examine all your pilots, ships, and officers in detail and change their assignments. If you recall fighters damaged in battle back to the carrier ship, the damaged ships will automatically be repaired by technicians here. Their fuel and ammunition will also be replenished. It is not possible to launch fighters again until they are repaired. Therefore, if you urgently need to launch new fighters, we recommend that you order the placement of undamaged ships in the launch bays. Whether this process is faster or slower in the hangar depends largely on the skill of the engineer officer. Speaking of officers, I advise you to choose your bridge officers carefully during battle. A good officer can give you an advantage even in the most difficult conditions, while an inexperienced officer can turn even the most advantageous situations into a nightmare and cause you to lose the battle. There will be 3 other officers on the bridge with you: Executive Officer, or XO for short, Tactical Officer, and Engineer Officer. On the bridge panel, you can easily see the statistics of your mothership. You will need to follow them closely during battle. On this panel, you will also see the neural network indicator. The neural network is a unique new technology that allows the entire crew to communicate seamlessly with the ship and their comrades using neural chips. This technology, which makes the Father unique, virtually creates a mental effect that allows you to more easily endure the vast distances of space. It also allows you to analyze the battlefield as if it were a slow-motion movie when making tactical decisions. These effects work in the logic of a hive mind, involving not just a single officer or fighter, but the entire ship's crew collectively. However, the individuals in the hive do not lose their free selves and continue to fight on their own initiative. In other words, they only use the hive as a tool to communicate more effectively with their comrades and act collectively. You can achieve these benefits by speeding up or slowing down the neural network, but the neural network pushes the physical capacity of the human brain very hard. So your brain is working far beyond normal human limits. That's why we trained all of you during the construction of the ship to reach optimal conditions to adapt to this technology. But you still can't withstand this heavy load for very long. So you can use this indicator to track how long you can run the neural network without burning out the crew's brains. Now back to the mission. Since this mission is basically a planetary defense mission, we have the advantage of getting support from the planet. The planet's administration will help us with logistics such as damage to the ship, missing fuel, and ammunition. All we have to do is enter the planet's orbit. As the Father moves into orbit, we can also control the ship's turrets. At the bottom right of the interface is the turrets panel. This panel makes it easy to keep track of the status of the Father's 7 different turrets. You can see which turret has targeted which enemy element, the damage status of that enemy element, etc. Small turrets can fire quickly and use very high-velocity projectiles. However, they have a short range. The main turret, at number 3, carries a very powerful weapon. This weapon needs a short time after each shot to be reloaded and ready to fire. You can monitor this time on the turret's time display. This process can be accelerated by the skill of the officers on the bridge. The main gun has a much longer range and inflicts heavy damage on the enemy. Even if an enemy hit by your main gun manages to survive, it will be badly damaged. Most of its internal systems will be disabled. Sometimes its engines will be destroyed, and its speed efficiency will be greatly reduced. From that point on, it is easy prey. 2 turrets at the rear of the ship house 2 missile launchers. These can fire different types of missiles. You can take out the small drones surrounding you with fast, small missiles that can catch small ships. Or, if you see large groups of enemies lurking ahead, you can fire a cruise missile with enough power and a huge blast radius to destroy them all. However, the effects of such a large blast radius can also damage nearby civilian ships, or asteroids or shipwrecks that your mission needs to find and investigate. You must also remember that you have a limited amount of ammunition on board. Every time a turret is fired, you use up ammunition and valuable logistical resources. While the logistics cost of the small turret is very low, firing the main gun costs more logistics. Missiles are extremely expensive. You have to consider all these logistical costs during the battle. Of course, it may be possible to reduce these costs to some extent through the skills of your pilots or officers. But sooner or later, you will need logistical support, and you will need to trade with nearby planets or stations for your depleted ammunition. So maintaining good relations with local factions is the right strategy. Back to the mission, Captain. Once you are in orbit, you will probably be spotted by enemy elements, because it's a small area and you will be in sensor range of the enemy elements. If the enemy attacks the mothership, your escorts will be the first to react. Now it's time to command your fighters. Technically, all of your fighter pilots are skilled and experienced fighters who can take care of themselves. You already know this since you selected them all by hand. However, your tactical coordination can help you achieve a more effective victory in this conflict. For each pilot, you will see a list of commands next to the turret panel. These commands are not intended to give collective orders to fighters. Rather, they allow you to give orders directly to the pilot of your choice. Since each pilot has different abilities, the commands here may change over time. In general, the following 8 commands are standard. 1. Launch from the mothership. 2. Return to the mothership. 3. Switch to rapid fire. 4. Turbo switch. 5. Permission to use missiles. 6. Escort the mothership. 7. Scan and analyze target. 8. Collect selected loot in space. Since the commands speak for themselves, I don't see the need to go into detail, but you can see that with these commands and abilities, you can create new tactical plans for each different situation. For example, if the ship is low on logistical resources and missile ammunition, you may not need to use missiles to shoot down small drones, and you can order your pilots not to use missiles. Or you can turbo speed your pilots so they can fight faster enemies, or you can send fighters far away from the mothership so they can get to the area faster. Or vice versa, if your fighters are returning from a mission far from the mothership, and the mothership is ambushed, and you need all your fighters to come to the mothership's aid immediately, you can have them turbocharged. It is important to remember, however, that turbo speed drains fuel from ships like water, reducing their mission radius and duration, and requiring them to land and refuel the mothership more often. Likewise, firing faster means they run out of ammunition faster, or run a greater risk of overheating their weapons and causing problems. This means that the warship will have to leave the battle and return to the mothership for repairs. In short, Captain, your pilots are very good fighters. But it is up to you, the officers, to coordinate them tactically. Finally, when your mission has been completed, in other words, the targets have been destroyed or the data required for the mission has been collected, you can leave the area. To do so, you must reach the jump point in the zone. Jump points are the optimal and safe exit points that are analyzed by the officers at the beginning of each mission. This is the correct point of escape, where details such as gravitational effects, space objects, and other physical elements do not prevent the ship from jumping. In the future, as your ship's officers and our scientists gain more experience with the Father's technology, we may develop methods and capabilities to jump out of the sector without reaching the escape point in an emergency, but this will likely result in partial damage to the Father. And Captain, you can't ignore the risk of ambush at any moment. Captain Lionheart, We paid a high price to bring this joint operation with you to fruition. Many of our agents lost their lives, as did your crew, when we raided the corporatocracy's secret laboratories developing neural network technology. We paid a heavy price to develop this secret technology and ship, in secret from traitorous political leaders bought by the corporatocracy. I know you realize how important your mission is to humanity. We want to see that all these sacrifices and losses are not in vain. We will fight a great battle against a handful of very powerful elites who are trying to turn all of humanity into robotic, soulless slaves in order to make themselves immortal emperors. May victory be ours, Captain.